Hey everyone, welcome back to Projecting Grandeur. I'm your host, Ron Dichter, and I'm really excited about today's show. I've got a very special guest, somebody who really needs no introduction, somebody who went from undrafted underdog to Pro Bowl quarterback, now building well beyond the field, just somebody who's just a tremendous leader and really just a dynamite person. Please help me introduce Jeff Garcia. Jeff, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on board.
I appreciate that, Ron, and it's great to connect with you once again and catch up on all the great things that you're doing in your life.
I appreciate that. So let's jump into it. Everybody knows who you are. You've had such an amazing career, but I don't think a lot of people know that you didn't get drafted initially, and you went from being an undrafted quarterback to being a Pro Bowl quarterback. I mean, the stats are just off the charts. But before the headlines, before everything got going, like how did you project your own grandeur internally?
Yes, I really believed it took time to build myself up to really gain that confidence. And coming out of high school, I was not a recruited quarterback. I felt like I was a good player, a good athlete, but I wasn't seen by coaches at the next level, especially the 4-year collegiate level, that I'd be a guy that they were interested in. I had a setback my senior year of high school. I fractured my non-throwing arm, my left elbow, in the middle of the season, so I ended up missing the the half of my senior football season. I ended up missing because of injury, and so because of that, it took even it took me even further away from the recruiting portal, so to speak. After my junior year, I had received some letters. There was a little bit of interest because of my stats my junior year, but the senior year just didn't repeat or build on what I had done my junior year in high school. So all of a sudden, have the injury. I'm not getting the calls. I don't have maybe that future, but I also knew deep inside my heart that more than likely I was going to play for my dad at the junior college level. He was the local head coach at the JC that was right there in my hometown. I'd grown up being a ball boy on the field, watching him coach, idolizing the players that played for him when I was a young kid. And so I thought that even though I didn't have the 4-year opportunity, I still wanted to play the game of football. I love the game of football. I'd been playing it since I was a little boy, and I wanted to be able to at least see what I could do at the JC level. So I went and played for my dad for that 1 year. And it was really when I played for my dad, how he utilized me, how he looked at the skills that I brought to the field and built an offense around that to really allow me to bring my best out on the field. And that's what happened in 1 year of playing for my dad. We had a great season. We won a bowl game. I received accolades, all conference, all state, all American at the JC level. And that's when eyes started to open up to me. And I think that's where I really saw my jump from my abilities in high school to now where I was at the collegiate level, or at least the JC level, from a 17-year-old kid to now a 19-year-old kid. The difference in development, maturity, confidence, all those things started to translate on the field. And that's really where I started to feel like, man, I could take this to another level. I can take this to the major college level. I wasn't thinking pros at that time. I was more so thinking, can I get my foot in the door with the 4-year school and then see what I could do at that level?
Yeah, that's such a cool story. I actually didn't know about that first year with your dad. That's such an amazing story. So, like when you think about competing at a high level, like there's probably a lot of our viewers that have played some sort of high school sports and maybe even some that played collegiate, but very, very few people ever get that opportunity to play on a pro level. Like how, when each of these new stages demands such a different level of, kind of what high performance means, like how do you perform at a high level going from high school, then to your point, going into college and then going into pro? Like, what does that take inside of you? How does it demand, bring out kind of the best in you. Like, I just love to hear kind of what you think when you go through that journey.
Well, I think just like anything else, it takes dedication, preparation, work ethic, and a mentally strong mindset. More than just what you are capable of physically, there's a huge part of the football process that's mental, and especially at the quarterback position. I think it was an advantage, obviously, growing up with a dad who was a football coach because I had been around football conversation my entire life, understanding what cover three meant, different coverages on the defensive backfield, understanding what different fronts were, understanding how an offense, the pieces to a puzzle on the offensive side worked. That whole mental ability to grasp the game really was developed early in my life when the physical tools, the work ethic, hey, hitting the gym, putting the extra hours in on the field, throwing the football, getting individual training work to become a better quarterback, chalkboard work. At the time, it was chalkboards, it wasn't computers. We were on chalkboards, we were drawing it up, and just forcing myself to grow each and every day, mentally and physically. And those are the things that I really built on and became part of my just everyday life. It was just what I knew. It wasn't like I was trying to do something that I didn't enjoy doing or trying to do something new in my life. It was what I knew. It was what I loved to do. It was what I wanted to really focus on to not only differentiate myself, but separate myself from any of the competition. And then I just loved competing. I love to be put in that position where whether somebody doubted me or there was somebody that had a higher expectation than I did, that people were thrust upon that person or that person had on himself, I was going to show that, hey, I was capable and I will take this job and I will run with it. And when the opportunity presents itself, you got to be ready to strike. That's the key here, is that you can come across opportunities in life, but if you're not prepared and ready for it, you're not going to maximize that. And I feel like every time there was a brief crack in the window or the door, that I was able to blow it open because I was prepared and ready to just strike. And that becomes the difference maker when you look at the guys who are great players or the guys that did make it from those who were great athletes but didn't make it. It's the fact that they were preparing themselves for that moment, and when that moment came, they were able to jump on it and run with it. And I think that's what separated myself from maybe even my own thoughts of where I could potentially get to as an athlete. Like I said, coming out of high school, not being recruited. So who am I to think I'm going to be playing in the NFL? Then going to junior college and then to a major college, but yet not on the top tier of major colleges. Going to San Jose State, which was 30 miles from where I grew up. It gave me an opportunity to do what I love to do, have my family watch me play my entire collegiate career, but not a whole lot of guys get drafted coming out of San Jose State. So really, I was living in the moment, and I think that's the key too, is like really living in the moment. Yes, I'm preparing for the next day, but I'm living in the moment on that day and I'm trying to be the best that I can in that moment. And that will lead to the next opportunity or the next step. And that's really how I've lived my life throughout.
Yeah, I love that. And that's such a great, and you're right, like being present, like being there so when you can seize the opportunity is so true. I want to just quickly back up. You talked about this a couple of times, being mentally prepared. Like it's not just about physical, right? There's that mental component. And like, is there a moment in time where you think back? Because I bet there's a lot of younger athletes out there that, they're thinking about the physicality of it, but can you think back to a time when that mentality or that mental component shifted and you realize like I got to be mentally strong as much as I am physically strong?
I think when you really start to play the game in front of the masses or the critics, right? Playing at the high school level, playing at the junior college level, minimal people are really seeing you, watching you. And if you're playing well, yes, people are enthralled, but coming from a small town, word's not necessarily getting out. But all of a sudden, you go to the major college level, you have a bigger scene of critics, a bigger scene of people that are looking at you. Hey, you took a scholarship spot. Are you deserving of that scholarship? Are you maximizing the opportunity? And then obviously at the professional level. But I think one of the things that I really thrived upon was the critics and them saying that I could not do something, or who is this guy? He's not this, he's not that, he doesn't have the size, doesn't have the arm strength. Always trying to downplay or hold me down in the sense of what my abilities really were. And I think that's where a strong mindset for me was indicative of how I had to get through those battles of people just judging me,
Yeah.
not based upon performance, but based upon just their own philosophies of what they thought should represent that position. And maybe I wasn't the prototype, but I was scrappy. I was tough. I had a mindset that I was not going to be denied. And I just battled each and every day. And my teammates would see that and they would be captured by that, because not only would it be me pushing myself, but they would see how demanding I was on myself, and it would raise their level of expectation as well. And that's what great leaders do. Great leaders put forth the effort, put forth the work, put forth the mentality that others see what they're doing, what they're building, and how they're creating success. And they want to be a part of that. And they start to then be accountable to their own actions. And so for me, it was always about putting my best foot forward, trying to be the best that I can be, work my tail off, be the front of conditioning drills, be the first one in to watch film, the last one to leave, really dedicate myself to doing all the little things properly and creating that consistency in my life. And that's what really allowed me to then move forward and really accomplish great things, things that nobody would have ever expected out of me, things that I didn't expect out of me. It wasn't that I didn't have dreams as a kid, because I did. I dreamt of playing professional football. But the reality of the situation was that come from a small town, come from a small background, probably not going to get the exposure, probably not going to compete against the best players to be seen in that sort of way. But eventually I did get there. And when I was on the scene of the best players playing in the East West Shrine All-Star game as a senior in college, I shined. I lit it up. I was the MVP. And so amongst all these fellow players from around the country, from the Miamis, the Notre Dames, the Floridas, the USCs, the you name it, Michigans. I was the MVP amongst all those guys. I mean, there's something to be said about the resilience and the determination that I had to continue to prove myself to people. And it wasn't maybe a lot of people, maybe 90% of people really liked me and thought I could do great. But those 10% that were knocking at me, that were trying to hold me down, those are what drove me to want to prove them wrong. And that's what I just carried as my fuel to my fire in just really pushing myself, because I knew what I was capable of. Nobody could tell me what I wasn't capable of. I knew what I was capable of, and I was going to demonstrate that, show that, prove that, and turn a non believer into a believer.
Man, I love your passion and fire, Jeff. It is awesome. I can see why you've done what you've done. So we may have some young viewers out there. They might be really talented athletes. They may even have the talent to, go far. But what advice would you give to them if they have all the talent in the world, but they're not yet at that platform? Is there any piece of advice you'd give to our young viewers out there that are trying to get to where you are?
I think the main thing, obviously, the world has changed. There's so much going on that's different than when we were growing up. I'm 5 years older than you, but we're in the same era. We didn't have social media. We didn't have all of the highlight platforms that kids have today to put their images out there, to put their videos out there. It's a different sort of race, so to speak. And there's all of these showcases that these kids can be a part of where they actually go to camps, they compete against some of the other big names that are out there. But I think the main thing that kids need to understand is that they cannot allow others to discourage or rain on their fire. I think most importantly, you got to believe in yourself. You have to understand that, hey, the greatest things in life are not just given to you, they're earned. And no matter what, you have to have that passion, that love for whatever it is that you're doing in order to really apply yourself to the maximum. And that's not saying you can't be successful in something that, hey, you don't know as much about. But for me, because of my passion and love for the game of football, I just wanted to sleep, eat, and think it throughout the day and be involved in it and really just like devote myself to being the best that I can be because of what it meant for my teammates, what it meant for my team, what it meant for my university or my professional organization. And I wanted to represent them in the best way possible. And so these young people, man, just continue to go out and push yourself and do the right things. That means the training, that means the eating properly, that means showing up when the lights aren't on. Hey, it's one of those things, hey, shining when the lights are bright, and that's great because you have to be able to shine in the moment, but the lights aren't always going to be on. And what are you doing when you're away from the game? Are you still working when you're not getting the praise or the preaching or people are looking at you? Are you doing the little things that are keeping you in tune with what you want to do as far as your achievements, as far as your goals, as far as your dreams are concerned? And so I think that's most important. And you know what? Be humble, man. Be humble and be kind. Doesn't mean you can't be a junkyard dog when you have to be. There's times to turn it on, and times to, hey, blend in or relate to your community. And I think that's most important for me. I've always just wanted to be a good person. Yeah, I was a different switch would go on the field, and I would turn it on, and then off the field I wanted to just be, be me, be liked, be a good person in our community, give back, do the right things. And I'm not saying I've lived the perfect life. I've made mistakes and I've had to learn from those mistakes. But that being said, I feel like I've lived a very healthy, positive, happy life. And the impact that I've had in others by being able to do what I have done, being able to have that platform where I can now bring awareness to charities or organizations that I believe in and give back has just been awesome.
Yeah, I love that. Let's shift gears here. So, obviously you had an amazing career in the NFL. I mean, you're like I said earlier, your stats are just off the charts, and everybody would kill themselves for those kind of numbers. But let's shift over into kind of life outside of it. So, obviously on the field, you were known for grit, adaptability, leadership. And as you think about your transition from the NFL into business and just everyday life, like how do you think those traits have showed up in that those early years right after the league?
Well, I think I'm still a great teammate, whether it's on the field or off the field. I feel like when I've really given myself to someone in learning a business or partnering up in a business, I feel like I'm an accountable person. I want to follow through with my word. I'm a man of my word. Handshakes, that sort of stuff are important to me. And just character and integrity. You know, I'm still learning so much at 55 years old. I'm still trying to almost reinvent myself as to what are my passions today. I can no longer play the game of football, but how can I have that same passion and love for something that I had for the game of football that is creative, that is financially rewarding, that more than anything puts a smile on my face every single day. I was blessed to have the contracts that I had, to earn the contracts that I earned playing the game of football. Believe me, it'd be awesome to play in today's game with the contracts that they have. But that being said, I made enough good decisions to put myself in a position to have a good life. Doesn't mean that I'm the word that I'm looking for, satisfied, I guess, or content. Doesn't mean that I'm content with where I'm at, because I feel like I'm still too young and too vibrant to just give up on working. And then I see my dad, who's 83 years old, who still drives a tractor every day and goes out and works and does jobs for people. And I'm like, man, that guy is like the vision of like true grit and determination and work ethic and drive and commitment, and a man of his word. And I mean, I have like the greatest model idol in the world, and just my dad. He almost makes me feel bad when I talk to him and I don't have a whole lot to say about what I did for the day. But that being said, you know, learning business, learning just whether it's through real estate, ventures, or startup companies, I've had to learn some really hard lessons, but I've also been a part of some really good people, and just learning how business works and sinking my teeth into it in the sense of trying to grow my own mind. I think we can never stop growing mentally, and I feel like, especially as a professional athlete, when you come out of the game at such a young age, so to speak, you have so much life ahead of you. And I think athletes today are doing a much better job of preparing for the afterlife of their sport. They're starting to build business. They're creating relationships. They're going to mentorship programs. They're doing a lot of things that are going to help them start up that secondary career, so to speak, while they're still in their primary career. Older athletes, I don't think we were as in tune to that. Some of them were and did a great job. I mean, Magic Johnson is a prime example. Michael Jordan, obviously. I mean, obviously, these guys were the elite of the elite as far as players on the court, but they also did a great job of building relationships and creating opportunity with trusted resources that really led to some great business ventures for themselves, and they're still growing and defying odds in what they've achieved in their own lives. I think those are like primary examples of what athletes really should be looking to do, using their platform to build relationships in the business world. Learn, hey, you have to learn, because you'll learn the hard way. If you don't understand how things go and you just want to hand your money over to people, it doesn't always work that way. It doesn't work out. It leads to some harsh penalties or some harsh uh, truths. And so for me, you know, it's just about continuing to meet good people throughout life in different ventures, and really look at how I can maximize my opportunities as a person, as a dad, as a businessman, and really continue to build on this second half of life. We got a long lot of years left in front of us, Ron. So hey, we got to make sure that we're sustaining not only our health but also our mind being challenged and working towards something that can be productive.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, I interview a lot of people, and I've interviewed a lot of people in their 20s. And Jeff, you have more energy than most of them. So whatever you're doing, you got to keep doing it because it is clearly working. Real quickly on just kind of the structure. You know, when you think about sports and football, like it gives you very disciplined structure and kind of how you work your day, and business demands that same kind of self-direction and structure. But are there any routines that you kind of do now that you're, in kind of that post career or post sports career that help you to maintain this energy as you go into these new ventures? Because you clearly have energy. Like, what are some of those routines you do still today?
Well, I think there's definitely got to be consistency in how you live your life. And for me, being healthy, being health driven, we talked about, hey, some of the injuries started to like pile up on me in the last 2 years where I've had to have some surgeries due to all the wear and tear of 30 plus years of putting my body through torture, right? In the gladiator arena, taking shots from all directions. But that being said, it doesn't slow me down in the sense of where I want my mental health to be. And a lot of my mental health is feeling good with what I eat, with how I physically push my body, how I train on a daily basis, consistency. It doesn't have to be a lot of hours in the gym, but just getting in the gym and doing something, getting my body moving, keeping it in motion, being around my children. I have 4 kids, teenagers, and they are challenging at times, but I also am able to live vicariously through them. My oldest daughter is a heck of a girls' flag football player, wants to play in college. My boys play basketball and football and soccer. They're active. My youngest daughter plays volleyball. So I'm always driving to a practice or coaching a practice, being around kids. I think when you're around kids, if you don't have energy, you're gonna fail, right? It's a matter of survival with young people, especially at my age. And so, being able to have that energy is important for me in front of them to really drive up their own motivation, their own thought process of what they want to expect out of themselves, because I'm there to give great lessons. I'm there to encourage, but also educate in the sense that I've been through it all. I've gotten to the highest place that you can get to in sport, in professional sports. And I want to share with you that you are capable of doing great things from within yourself, but you got to be able to you got to want it. You got to want it. You have to will yourself. You have to dedicate yourself. And so for me, energy wise, it's about consistency, in my daily habits. And I think I've made some changes over the past couple of years too that just would help me think more clearly, more freely, just be more present in the moment, and less. I think one of the things that we deal with when we're struggling with that next step in life or not knowing exactly what direction I'm going, there's anxiety, there's depression. It's talked about more than ever today. I remember growing up, I never heard the word depression or anxiety. It just wasn't something we heard, but now it's all around us. But that being said, what can I do to maintain my focus, to keep moving straight forward, not take steps back, or if there is a step back, hey, find a way to get over that hurdle, get back going in the right direction. And so much of that is just what I put into my body, the time I put into my body, my mind, hey, reading, being proactive in the sense of really challenging and growing myself. And that really has helped me with my enthusiasm, my energy. I'm so blessed to have 4 beautiful, healthy children, so blessed to have the life that I have with the people that I share my life with and where I live. I mean, there's nothing that I can complain about. And if I have a sore toe every once in a while, I just gotta suck it up and deal with it.
The harsh realities of being an athlete, right? The aftermath. So let's talk just for a brief moment about reinvention. So you've been, as you said, like the highest level of sports. So you've been seen by the world. Everybody knows who Jeff Garcia is, and now kind of reinventing yourself as a dad, reinventing yourself as a business guy. Reinvent like how do you do that in the most simplistic terms? And like, is there a shift that you go through to kind of really think about like I've been at the highest level now. is that something you aspire for on this level, or are you like, what does that look like for you?
Yes, I mean, there's always the coulda, shoulda, woulda, like so often I think about, gosh, when I was playing, I was right in the middle of Silicon Valley with the 49ers, right there in Santa Clara, South Bay Area, the whole, you know, tech tech world. And why do I not have those relationships back there? And it's not that it's well, my attitude is it's never too late. It's never too late. Hey, I can reinvent, recreate myself. I can put myself out there. I can be vulnerable. I can work on those relationships. Obviously, there's a sense of me that's like, gosh, it would have been easier doing it 20 years ago instead of today. But I'm not trying to rule the world like I was 20 years ago. I think I'm much more simple in my approach today. I just look at life in the sense of I want to be doing things that make me happy and that give back to our community in some sort of way. I want to do things that are going to help to put a smile on people's faces. And whether that's a product or just getting out and being around kids and coaching them, uh, I just have found that I'm not trying to complicate my life any more than it needs to be complicated. It's already one of those things where I'm running around left and right as an Uber dad trying to just deliver kids on time to school or to practice or to this, to that, all those things. And so, how do I manage my time effectively to where I'm not burning myself out as well? And now I've taken on a role as a an offensive coordinator at a local high school, which is not going to be like coaching at the collegiate or professional level as far as your hours, but there's still a commitment. And so now balancing that with also starting up a girls club flag football program because of my daughter running that. So there are things that I am doing that may not be padding the bank account, but they're growing my heart in the sense of I just love being able to help people and to teach people and to share what I went through and how I got there with these young people because as we know today mentalities are different.
Yeah.
Kids are challenged in different ways. They have different distractions on their plate than what we had growing up. They have uh, much more, they're much more influential by what they see or what they come across. And so for us to help guide them or redirect them down a path that's more sustainable, that's healthier, that's more active for them is really what I'm all about. I love that part of life. Yeah, I'd love to be able to talk and promote a company. I'd love to be able to really connect with quality people and be a part of something special, magical that's outside of the sports world or that utilizes sports and business. But as of right now, as a dad, as a coach, uh, my time is valuable. And so when I'm away from any of those things, I really truly just enjoy being able to be around the people that I surround myself with and keep it simple. Hey, I still think about things. I still want to work toward things. I'm not done growing is what I'm saying. I just also am trying to find that path that fits me perfectly.
Yeah, makes total sense. So as you think about, your time as a quarterback, and kind of leading, leadership is a quality that obviously as a quarterback you have to have. You get everyone into a huddle, you're calling the plays, you're calling the shots around. As you think about that transition of leading as a father and as a mentor, it sounds like you've got tons of opportunity to be a great mentor. And even as a businessman, like, is that process of leading very similar, or is it a totally different style of leadership that you've had to learn as you make that transition?
No, I think it's very similar in the sense of before you can even talk about what people should be doing or need to be doing, you have to be demonstrating it yourself. You have to be doing it yourself. And I think one of the things with football that I learned at an early age, because I was somewhat of a shy kid growing up, but all of a sudden on the field, the abilities, the mentality would turn up a notch. It was like I was coming out of my shell. And that's where the confidence really was. And that was displayed by my actions, just how I played, how I battled, how tough I was, how I bounced back up after a hit, or whatever the case may be. And I carried that throughout my football life in the sense of really trying to demonstrate what I thought was the right way and being that teammate in the locker room that never put it on, never said we won because of me. It was always about us as a team. My expectation on myself was to be the best that I could be for my teammates, and hopefully, whatever I'm doing is something that they see as a motivation to do better themselves. When I got the confidence, obviously, then I started to speak up and I would voice my words and my wisdom in a sense that it never came as belittling anyone. It always came out of encouragement. And so I think those things are things that you can really take into the business world, although there's going to be some truthful conversations that have to be made in the business world that maybe in the sports world somebody else is making those decisions for you. If I thought that this guy shouldn't be on the team, I can't just say you're not on the team. Somebody else has to make that decision, right? But in the business world, you have to have those tough conversations and you have to be willing to have those sort of conversations, because at the end of the day, somebody who's taken away from the potential to be successful in your company is not a good teammate. And if they don't want to learn and adapt and adjust and grow and be a part of the team in that sort of way, with their actions, with their opinions, with their voice, not saying they always have to agree, but bring value to the table. If you're not bringing value to the table, then we're probably better without you. And those are the tough conversations that GMs, coaches have to make, but hey, CEOs, presidents of companies, that they have to make. And so, being in a leadership position, you have to have courage to make those sort of decisions when you can see that it's taken away from the success of the team.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great analogy, by the way. And I actually hadn't thought about the way you're thinking about it, where you talk about being a player on the field and the GM having to make the calls, but like it's a great analogy. Let's kind of go thinking about a little further down your life. Like as you think about winning, you think about success off the field, whether it be in business, whether it be in life. Like, what do you think of winning today? Like, what does that look like for you today?
Rising with a smile, starting the day off on a positive note, making the bed first thing, accomplishing at least something that day. No, but I think my expectations on winning, they've definitely changed. It's different than preparing to go to battle on Sunday and win a football game. I want to win as a dad. I want to be a great dad. I want to be present for my children. I want to be able to encourage them through the difficult times, support them. I want them to be able to learn lessons on their own as well and not always be there to fix everything for them. That's a difficult thing to do when you are as present as my kids' parents are in their life. We want to help navigate their life, but they have to figure it out on their own. But what we can do is give them encouragement and direction to an extent, right? And so for me, that's very important. That's a part of my win, is seeing them happy, seeing them in a good place, seeing them get along with each other and having successful outcomes each day. Fortunately, my kids have pursued athletics, they may not play at any higher level than the high school level, but they're a part of it. They're a part of teams. They're understanding what it's like to work as a teammate, to be accountable, to show up to practice, to be there when you're supposed to be there when you're not supposed to be there as well. I mean, just be there, be available. And so they're learning those lessons through sport and through our guidance as parents. So that's important. You know, for me also is really tapping into my passion and where that can be beneficial to others. How can I help support others and inspire, motivate, help create, help build something that people can be proud of? And you know, I may not have the initiative or the great idea off the start to build a certain business, but I feel like I can really support a person's ideology and be a great teammate to someone in the business world if those opportunities present themselves. And so, you know, that's where I feel like I am more satisfied and content in my own life in that sense, in knowing really uh, my path or my direction.
Yeah. So if there's anybody out there listening that's in some sort of inflection point or transition point in their life, maybe they're leaving sports, maybe they're changing careers, or maybe they're just reinventing themselves. Is there anything you would tell them?
Yeah, I think first of all, I think writing things down is always helpful. I
Mm,
think writing down just certain character traits, certain attributes. What do you like about yourself? What do you not like about yourself? What are things that you could potentially change that are going to be positive in your life? Really get down to the reality of looking in the mirror and seeing what can I do differently in my life that's going to help open up doors or create a transition that can be positive. And then writing down really what your goals are, what your most recent vision is to see yourself doing, and what can you build to in the next couple of years. Being able to see that, write it down, think about it, reread it. Your value system is huge, you know, as far as who we are as people. What do you value in your own life, and what would you like to see different in your own life? And I think you really have to be, you know, again, it comes down to being truly honest with yourself as far as uh, reaching deep from within to see why you haven't maybe found that answer or what's keeping you. Don't I think the main thing here is we can't victimize. We can't play the victim. There's a reason or there's a why as to why we were as to where we are in our life and how can we change the direction of that path, and starts with some soul searching, and then it goes from there to connecting and reinventing, recreating, and really putting yourself out there, having the vulnerability to, you're going to hear no, you're going to hear not today, but hey, that's okay, because there's someone out there that is going to find value in you and want to be a part of what you bring to the table.
yeah. You know, it's funny. I did a episode, I think it was last week, and you and I are very similar, Jeff, in that writing things down. I consider myself a collector of thoughts, and I write everything down. And I think it's such great advice for people because, you know, our brain's got only so much space in it. You can't remember everything, and journaling it is a great way to do it. Cool. Well, one last question for you. You know, the title of this podcast series is called Projecting Grandeur. When you hear the words projecting grandeur, what does that mean to you?
Really, to me, comes more deeply within, like almost like your aura that you're able to share with others. I think that I want to believe when I walk in a room, it's not my physical presence that is going to lift people. It's just my tone. It's my smile. It's my passion that people see through my eyes. It's all of that that just is like burning or resonating within me. That's like coming out of my pores, so to speak, and it doesn't have to be, I'm not a Super Bowl winner. I didn't get to a Super Bowl. Yes, I've accomplished many great things in my life. That doesn't mean that I can't project greatness in some sort of way and have that just be like spewing out of my bones and skin. And I think that to me is really what it is, like how I feel about myself, the confidence that I have within myself, even though I don't know everything. And I know that because I am humble about those sort of things. And I want to come in and I want to embrace people. I want to encourage people. I want to learn from people. I want to grow from people. And I think having that sense of not just confidence but humility, I think that's what really exudes and where my projecting grandeur really comes from.
Yeah, I love that. Listen, Jeff, you've been an amazing guest, and listen, for our viewers out there, like, the scoreboard never tells the whole story, and Jeff Garcia is got some amazing career stats, but he didn't just play the game; he redefined it. He is rebuilding himself over and over again, and just an outstanding person. And I feel lucky to say that I know you. But Jeff, thank you so much for joining the show today. You've been an amazing guest.
You got it, Ron. Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. And let's go. Hey, project that grandeur every day, big guy. Let's go.
I love it. Everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget, like and comment and share, because sharing is caring. Have a great day, everyone.